Well, staying with issues relating to the public protector, Mkhwebane has raised concern over the language that Judge Sulett Potterill used when delivering judgment in the matter relating to Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan and her office. She's considering referring the High Court Judge Sulet Potterill to Judicial Services Commission. Gordhan had brought an urgent application to interdict the public protector's remedial action in the so-called SARS rogue unit. ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule briefed the media at Luthuli House in Johannesburg on the outcomes of the party's NEC, which was held in Pretoria over the weekend. To help us unpack the public protector matter in relation to the president of the party and of the country and the outcomes of the ANC NEC briefing, we're now joined by political analyst Melanie Verwoerd. Melanie, thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program. Hello, Melanie.
Can you hear me?
Hi. Melanie,
Hi.
Okay, we're going to try and recall Melanie. So in the meantime, just to remind you what those top stories are. Eskom, for one, the record loss that's been reported. And at the same time, we also have the ANC NEC, the statement that's been released by the Secretary-General a short while ago, speaking about a number of issues that the party has decided to address. And to help us unpack some of that, I'm now joined by Melanie Verwoerd. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome back.
Nice to talk to you.
Right, Melanie, so a lot of people were expecting quite a lot to come out of the ANC's NEC over the weekend, given so much that's been in the media, so much public infighting that's been taking place on social media and through the press, that they've had a lot on their plate. Do you think that they dealt with all the issues?
Well, you know, if you look at the press statement, it was an incredibly long press statement. I think the written version was 10 pages long. And in fact, it took Ace Magashule so long to deliver it that most of the TV channels just cut away and went to something else halfway through. You look at the 4 days where they discussed both government policy issues and then also, of course, internal ANC issues. I think what I appreciate from that statement is there are a few things. The first thing is the urgency with which they seem to now finally deal with the economy. So they've raised concerns about numerous issues in the economy, of course the unemployment figures, the lack of growth, etc. And they called on people to really participate in this and also for the government to urgently deal with the issues. I think secondly, the interesting thing is that they dealt very carefully, and it was a very carefully drafted statement around some of the sensitive issues, such as the Reserve Bank's mandate, the expropriation issue, the land reform issue, even e-tolls. And I think ultimately what was really interesting for me in terms of the statement was it certainly sounds like the Ramaphosa camp had the upper hand over the last 4 days. It's certainly the president's language that was used, particularly when it came to the sensitive issues. Ace Magashule might have delivered the press statement, but he certainly didn't draft it.
It was interesting that they, you know, the renewal and unity of the ANC again came up, and this is very definitely something that the president has been pushing forward for some time now. And the Secretary-General had to say that they discussed these public spats that have been taking place, and he, of course, has been part of that.
It was quite interesting how very cursory they dealt with, well, certainly the Derek Hanekom issue after all the noise of last week around it, and particularly relating to the SG's late night, very unprecedented, vicious attack on a very senior ANC member. I mean, they dealt with the whole thing under, of course, again, the need for unity in the ANC, and then sort of a general statement by saying that it's come under the NEC's attention that many senior leaders in the ANC continue with certain unacceptable behavior. And then, of course, they mentioned a few things, like factionalism, no surprise to anybody there. Then, secondly, wild accusations against ANC members without any grounds. Very interesting. That clearly refers to former President Zuma's utterances at the Zondo Commission, using social media to fight each other, which clearly includes Ace Magashule as well as others. Then the continued fact that people take the organization to court and leaks to the media, which is nothing new. When it came to the Derek Hanekom issue, it was quite dismissed and just said very quickly dealt with by saying it's been referred to the officials, and then later it was confirmed that the officials then referred it back to the NWC, and it might or might not, as your clip indicated, be included in the investigation of the support by some ANC leaders, including Ace Magashule, for smaller parties during the election. So it's very interesting how they clearly did not really want to address this in front of the media. And because, of course, they knew that the ANC would, that the media would certainly attack Magashule very viciously, on this issue.
Again, very carefully worded when they referred to the public protector and the matters that are on the table at the moment.
Yeah, in principle, what was said was, in principle, the ANC supports the Office of the Public Protector and other Chapter 9 institutions. And of course, in political speak, that is very insightful because it's so carefully drafted that you also know that there are huge concerns about the person of the Public Protector at the moment and what's happening there.
So you've been watching the ANC for many, many years. You were part of the party. When you see a statement like this, what does it tell you about the state of the party at this time?
So obviously that they're still dealing with a lot of problems in the organization itself. The harder you not deny it, but the way you try and avoid the questions, of course, by putting out such a very smooth statement, you know that is because there are big problems. But as I said in the beginning, what is very positive for me about this, from the perspective that I think the majority of South Africans stand, is that this is very clear that Ramaphosa, the president, and his faction had control over this weekend, that they won the battle this weekend. And you could see that certainly Magashule followed hard when he had to read the piece about the Reserve Bank. The fact that they recommitted to the Nasrec motion, but also the independence of the mandate. So, it was very back to the sort of standard formulations, and particularly the ones that the president has been consistently saying. And so that is, for me, a very positive signal that has come out of this press statement. Having said that, and the press conference, but having said that, it also indicates, of course, that there are still big problems in the ANC.
All right, so again, a lot of these other things, unemployment, dealing with the economy, you spoke about, but, I can pick up 20, 30 other statements in the past that say exactly the same things. How do they manage it this time around?
Look, yes. Ultimately it's up for government and not the ANC, but it's the government that has to implement all these things. And the difficulty that we've had now over the last couple of years, of course, or since Nasrec, is that sometimes when they had ANC press statements, that it actually conflicted with what certainly the president was saying and government was saying. And so at least now we have, in this press statement, we have an alignment, which is a good thing. But yes, you are completely right that we've heard a lot of this being said repeatedly over and over and over again. And yes, ultimately government needs to implement and needs to implement fast because there are so many urgent things, and particularly around the economy, as we've seen again today.
A short while ago, you said that it sounded very much like President Ramaphosa has got his hand all over this. If weekend newspapers are to be believed, it seems as if he's certainly flexing his muscles now. City Press, I think, said that he even dared them to try and remove him at the next NGC. What do you think that says?
Well, yes, I think Jesse Duarte denied that during question time at the press conference. But having said that, it's very clear from what has been said now for a while that there is, that they are gearing up for the NGC. And we need to remember that ANC's National General Council is held halfway through between the two big conferences that are held, the electoral conferences, which are held every 5 years. It's important to also remember that the only thing that they can discuss there are, in fact, policy, and it's not an electoral conference, and they can't, through votes or anything, get rid of anybody in the NEC, including the president. However, they can, of course, make life very difficult because the ANC's constitution says they can evaluate the performance of any ANC member. And it's very clear from what's been said in the last few weeks, and very clear to me that what specifically the SG of the ANC has been saying, that it's going to be his legacy to enforce the decisions that were taken by all the previous ANC electoral conferences, that they are gearing up for a fight. You can pick it up then that they will criticize the president if the Reserve Bank hasn't been nationalized by then, if there has not been enough progress on expropriation without compensation, on most probably the ESCOM issue, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that there's no doubt whether that issue was, whether the president specifically said that in the NEC or not, slightly besides the point. What is very clear is that there is a sort of gearing up and a preparation for a big fight at the NGC. And clearly, it's important that the president actually gives the signal that he's not going to stand for that.
All right. Very quickly, one important question. The ANC Youth League, a big development there. Its executive has been dissolved. What do you make of that? And could this be the beginning of trying to rebuild what many people see as a largely fading institution within the ANC?
Well, the national executive of the Youth League's term of office has expired, I think, quite a while ago. So the NEC has now agreed that they will disband it and form a new interim committee that has been given the task to, over a period of time, rebuild the Youth League inside the ANC. And of course, there are two reasons for that. So one is, most importantly, that the ANC knows that they have lost, or that they don't have a very strong base amongst the youth voters at the moment, that they are more likely to go EFF than they are to go ANC. And at the moment, that doesn't affect the ANC that much, partly because of voter apathy amongst the youth group, but in another 5 or 10 years from now, when the older population are not so much at play in terms of elections, that's going to be a big problem for the ANC and to continue to stay in power. So they know that they have to do something and revitalize the youth league in the ANC in order to gain youth votes. And secondly, of course, we also know that the existing Youth League, up till now, was a very strong supporter of President Zuma and of the Zuma faction. And therefore, I think this is another signal that, that the Ramaphosa faction is certainly making progress inside the ANC and do not want these sort of the leagues to be opposing the president and his agenda.
All right, Melanie, we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks very, very much indeed, as always, for your insights. That was political analyst Melanie Verwoerd on the line.